Okay, so what exactly started to change? Was it the number of people? Was it the amount of money you were making? Was it the caliber of clients? Was it more the kind of people you wanted to be working with? What exactly did you notice in that 3 months where you were like, okay, something is shifting?
I mean, certainly the money that came in, that started to come in. I could finance myself quite quickly after, like, in the third month, not yet, but the fourth and the fifth, then started to work out so that I could fully finance myself. And that was, of course, kind of a big relief.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Tales of Transformation. This is the channel where we have interviews and conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things to give you the permission slip that you need to transform in health, wealth, love, and spirituality. So today I'm going to be welcoming Beccy. So I'm going to jump onto her Instagram, actually tell you what she does. So Beccy's a content creator and her Instagram tag is Brave Beccy. And she does online business, and she is for traveling souls who want to work online. Now, earning money and passion and working remotely is something that so many people are aspiring to. So let's bring Beccy on and see what she has to share around how she has created this life for herself. Awesome. How are you?
Good.
Yeah. Are you at home in Switzerland right now?
No, I'm in Morocco at the moment.
Amazing. What are you doing in Morocco?
I'm just like gonna be here for a while, probably for a longer while, because I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, just enjoy. And you can work remotely, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I would love to start with you introducing yourself, like you telling us who you are and what your work is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's start classic. My name is Rebecca, and I would say I'm someone who usually really just goes for what feels right to me.
Okay.
If that makes sense in the external, or even if that means making big steps that are scary. I would say I'm an adventurous spirit. So that kind of looked like that after my master in business and economics, that I went directly to Zanzibar. I'm originally from Switzerland, and was leading a hotel there. I got a position in Switzerland already, and then went there for 2 years to lead a hotel. And I didn't have any like leadership experience before that, or team lead experience. So that was a big step into the unknown. And in Zanzibar, I kind of realized I don't want to be fixed even to Zanzibar. I always wanted to go away, but then I realized I don't want to be like fixed in a location. That doesn't matter if it's Zanzibar or Switzerland.
Yeah.
So that's when the thought of an online business came into my head more and more. Mm-hmm. And I started to learn more about online marketing, about how this world works, about what the options are. Yeah. And fast forward now, that was about 3-4 years ago, I think. By now I'm self-employed since 2 years with my own online business, and basically help others who want to figure out what their gifts are, what they could go out with, and how they can package that in a sensible way so that people are also interested and want to work with them.
Okay, amazing. So just to clarify, your online business is coaching clients to achieve their online business. Did I get that right?
Much, yeah.
And is that what you've been doing online since the conception of your online business space, or did you start by doing something else?
I think it was a mix. I mean, I also do web design. That was a part, was also a bigger part when I started out. And I was a bit more in like also in empowerment coaching space, just more in this thing of what do you actually want to do, and how can you just make that step and do it instead of just dream about it. But I just in the process I realized more and more that my main strength is just to also to have a mix, to like guide people to go these steps, but also just give this step-by-step knowledge of online marketing, of how this world works.
Yeah.
It's really this combination that is most fun for me.
Amazing. And the idea and that inspiration to start your online business, did that happen whilst you were out there in Zanzibar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really want to like hone in on that point, because a lot of people try and create something new and they don't find the courage for something new because they're staying in the familiar old. And you actually said it yourself. You finished your degree, your qualification, and you decided you were going to go straight into the unknown. You were going to go out there into Zanzibar, which is a long way from home, and to do something that you didn't necessarily have the qualifications or experience in, but you were willing to jump into the unknown. And it's from the unknown that the unknown emerges, right? When we're in our familiar environment and we have these neural networks and these associations with our home and with the people around us, we can't really think from a new paradigm because we're in the old, right? So I love how you've given us a permission slip and also an example how dive into the unknown, even if that thing isn't the ultimate thing you're going to end up doing, but from there, your path might emerge.
Yeah, absolutely. You always have to take these little steps and figure out on the way where this brings you, because you cannot really, often we're too stuck in our minds when we stay in one place. Action into it just brings new ideas into it, brings new connections even to people that you would not have met otherwise. Just it's important to make moves.
Yeah, exactly. And the first thing people will be thinking when they're listening to you is, I'm going to speak for other people here, but do you make enough money for this to be feasible?
Yes, in the beginning it was very difficult. The first year was really, there was a pain, just to be very honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, you learn a lot on the way. I also know by now why I didn't make any money. Really, the first year I didn't. I made maybe 500 or something in a whole year, so I had to have side jobs again because I quit my job directly. Was then like in a financial struggle. I had to get side jobs again. I had to kind of, it was always a struggle to kind of pay the bills and still have enough time for my own thing.
Yeah.
And I think the most painful about it was this sort of in between phase of knowing there is absolutely no way I want to go into a fixed employment back.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine to be in this world again. Or to invest more time into it, like being in it 1 year is one thing, but then what's the point? Like, just it's not going to happen forever anymore. And at the same time, not quite seeing how I can make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being in the in between state of not really knowing, kind of knowing what you want, but still it just doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yes. That's incredible, because what you're saying is you had chosen this thing that you really had a strong desire for. You really wanted to have your own business, freedom to move around, to work from Morocco or wherever you like. You'd done the being an employee for a company or for somebody else. You knew that wasn't what you wanted for yourself. And yet when you were trying the other thing, the freedom life, living with sovereignty and autonomy, you couldn't see that working out as you sat in it. Like, as you sat in it and you were doing it, it was like, this isn't quite working. I've made 500, it's been a whole year, and 500 is not even enough for a month in the Western world, let alone a whole year. So you're having to do other things to survive and to get by. But the key factor here is, what is it that gave you that self-trust? What is it that, because so many people would have given up at that stage and said, forget this, I'm just going to have to go back, and been miserable or, feeling mediocre, or feeling they're not living their potential, but you carried on. So a part of that is always self-trust, like somehow I'm going to figure it out. But was there any other tool or mindset that you had that allowed you to keep going and figure things out?
I think there were two main things. One thing is just, I mean, it's a bit of my character trait also, that I'm pretty stubborn. Something that just, and there's no way I'm gonna let it go. But also just always seeing again that it works for others. I always told myself, if I see that it works for others, if I see that others make money that way, then it has to work out somehow for me. Like, why not? Why shouldn't it not work out for me as well?
Yeah.
if I see others managing to do it.
Yeah.
That was a big thing to always remind myself again. As long as other people can do it, I can do the same too.
Yeah.
Of always getting up again and learning and understanding why it's not working out.
Yeah. 100%. You've made such amazing points just even in that short little transmission that other people get to be our permission slip. Like, even if it's not happening for us, we bank the evidence from other people that, okay, well, we all live on the same planet, we all have the same number of minutes per day. Yes, we all have our unique skills and privileges and different things, but what if I could borrow their confidence? What if I could borrow the evidence that it's possible for them? What if I could borrow the model that they've used? And maybe that's not the exact model that's going to work for me, but I can start my journey by using their first few steps, right? Yeah.
Also, I would say, especially like I think that's a very healthy way of comparing yourself.
Yes.
There's an unhealthy way happening where you compare yourself and feel like, why is it working for everyone else? Why am I too stupid, or am I too this and that? That's just a very unhelpful way of looking at others, which usually that's something to build you up and not the other way around.
I love that. I really love that. I love that because so many people do question their own worth based on what everybody else in their vicinity, their age group, etc., are going through, or the milestones that they're hitting. You know, I often coach people in love and relationships, and women who are wanting to find their partner, like, but everybody my age is already with somebody or married or is already having children, and it's like, yes, they are, which means it's possible for you too, right? You're in the vibrational vicinity of that reality, right? They're the permission slips showing you what's possible, and you get to use that as inspiration and refine your desire. Thank you so much for making that point. It's such a great way of framing that. Yes, we get to compare ourselves to other people, but with what intention? With the intention of reminding ourselves that it's possible. I love that. That's great. I would love to ask, what was the turning point in your business where you started to go, okay, now things are starting to work? What did you do? When did you notice it? And what was it that you noticed?
It was pretty much like at the end of this first year. I let everything go completely, went offline of Instagram for a month in December. Focused on myself, on doing things that bring me joy, on like having also just a year end to like celebrate this year end and see what I want to let go of and what can come in.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big, like that was laying the right basis, because I went into the next year with a lot more calmness, groundedness, and suddenly I started to attract more of the right people, and like more of the right people, and I was more calm about the whole process. I didn't rush it anymore. I didn't feel like if it doesn't work out in 1 month, then I need to change my whole positioning. I need to change this and that. I need to bring a new program. I just followed one route and went with that. And that was a big piece. And then I also met a mentor for myself who just taught me sales, because that was my main block, that like I was always kind of good at marketing, but actually selling and closing that sale, that was the main problem. Like lots of money blocks in there, self-worth issues. And then it started to work out, like after about three months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Amazing. You have just literally shared so much gold. You've said that you went off Instagram, so you took your attention away from the thing, because most people are trying to build their businesses on Instagram, and they're using that as a really good way of attracting people. But you said you took your attention off it. You closed it down. You went off, enjoy the rest of the year. So you've literally just surrendered the outcome. You're like, okay, I'm going to focus on me. So you've detached from the outcome. You've surrendered that up to, whatever it is that you believe in, God, the universe, or just like, I'm just letting go for a while. And you came out with a much greater sense of peace and calm, which I would say is if somebody was really successful in their business and they knew they had the skills to attract, close clients or sales, whatever it is, and they kind of had confidence in that, what would they be feeling? They'd be feeling calm and peace, right? It's almost like you embodied the emotions and the state of the version of you that had the thing that you wanted. And since you embodied that, reality kind of rearranged around you to bring you the right people. And then on top of that, you got guidance and leadership. You got a mentor who would teach you the skills that you didn't know. And that's just basically an incredible formula for anything to work. It's like, work with what you have, and for the skills that you don't have, find someone that has the skills who can teach you them. It's really that simple. Okay, tell us more, because I'm loving this.
I think something I just remembered is also like one thing back in, I think it was January, February. What was that? Like in that second year, where I was still jobbing, but I also felt like back in November, December, it was still fun. It was still like also cool events and things that I went to. But then in January and February, suddenly I got more and more like really shit jobs, really like just stuff that sucked completely. And I just felt like it's time to really let go of that now.
Yeah.
There was also just there was this feeling in me, if it just has to work out, that I don't care anymore. I don't want any other way to earn money anymore. Not even, it doesn't even matter whether it's full-time or part-time, or like it was super flexible. I could just go whenever I wanted, basically. But I was just like, even this needs to really go now. And that was probably a big part as well, that I really was like, no, the only way I want to earn money now is with my business.
Yeah. Okay.
Allowing for anything else.
Yeah. Okay, so for the listeners, that is another big golden nugget right there. What you're saying is that you closed off your energy. It's like you had all these taps on and none of them were quite giving you the amount of water you needed. So you said, okay, I'm going to focus on the plumbing for one tap. I'm going to switch all the others off. I'm going to put all my energy in this one place. And you're sending a really clear signal out to creation, to God, to the universe, right? You're saying, I am serious about this. And as soon as you say, I'm serious about this, what's reflected back, the echo is, I'm serious about this. And so your life reflects that back to you. So just for anyone that's listening, this applies to anything that you're trying to do, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your health, whether it's your spiritual journey. All of that is in the little piece of wisdom that Beccy's just shared of get serious about it, and turn off your safety net, because that's what you did. Yeah,
get clear on what you want to accept and what not anymore. Like basically, because whatever is in your reality, it's something that you accept. Whether you like it or not, you still kind of accept it.
Because we are allowing space for it. Amazing. Okay, so what exactly started to change? Was it the number of people? Was it the amount of money you were making? Was it the caliber of clients? Was it more the kind of people you wanted to be working with? What exactly did you notice in that 3 months where you were like, okay, something is shifting?
I mean, certainly the money that came in, that started to come in. I could finance myself quite quickly after, like, in the third month, not yet, but the fourth and the fifth, then started to work out so that I could fully finance myself. That was, of course, kind of a big relief.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily absolutely dream clients yet. Some of them, yes. Some of them just were fine, but not like... I feel like I was really working with a whole lot of people and just focusing on getting myself out there, talking to as many people as possible, really getting that experience in working with people. Allowing myself to be messy, I think. Because I think like in the first year, sometimes I was too focused on who is the ideal client that I want to work with, like trying to sell more like huge packages or bigger 3-4 months packages. And I focus back on really just, for example, also want to do 1 month, do shorter subscriptions, to like also really work really cheap sometimes, just to get that traction going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really brave. It's a willingness to change up what you're offering, and like, because your focus was on getting results, right? It's like you want to get the results for yourself and for the client. And so, okay, well, this isn't getting results for me, so what will? And then changing it up to see, yeah, it's and I think a lot of people miss that sometimes. It's like, why isn't this working? And asking that question, why is it not working? Well, sometimes you get to ask the question, what would work?
Yeah.
And then shifting it based on that.
Yeah. And I think for me it was also very helpful to start with smaller packages and really low prices, because I just really couldn't ask for money in the beginning. Like it's just, I mean, I could say it, but it just never worked out in a sense of actually working relationship coming out of it.
Yeah.
So that for me was kind of necessary to build that confidence to ask for money, to just start with low prices.
Yeah. Okay, tell us about some of your money blocks, if you feel called. What were some of the things you noticed were in your poverty consciousness or your inability to tune into abundance?
I think a big part is just this feeling of never being enough. I mean, that's still something. It's still pieces of that are still there. I mean, they don't disappear completely in a matter of seconds. But it's just you reach different levels, I would say. That was just something that's with me since my whole life. This feeling of not being enough, or just having to do more and more and more to deserve something back.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. That's why it worked easier with the web design in the beginning, because it's just a tangible thing that you can give to people. It took me a long time to understand that just having coaching sessions, actually just guiding people, that this is valuable in itself. Like, I mean, I booked coachings all the time. I knew it, but I couldn't really see or feel it for myself. Or even when I got good feedback, it was still kind of something in me that took a while to understand that.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, in the very beginning, it was just, there was kind of a little bit of arrogance in it as well. Like just asking for a lot of money, but actually having not a huge plan of what I'm going to do with this person in the end. Like, how am I going to deliver these results as well? Also a little bit in the coaching market at that point, I think many people were doing the same mistake. And it's also a bit why coaching is not like, some people love it, others really hate it, kind of hate the whole scene, because there's just many out there who ask for a lot of money but don't really have a huge plan of what they deliver in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those two things. I mean, so the question was around your money blocks, and one of the first thing you said was the not enoughness, which I think so many women can relate to, not just in their sense of abundance and access to finances and resources, but just in all aspects of life, and at varying degrees of feeling like they're not enough or they don't deserve it. And you very honestly reflected that there are moments where you still feel that, and at different volumes at different times. How do you manage those feelings of feeling not enough now, even though your business is going on an upward spiral and you're starting to be able to live the life that you want, and you still hear that voice or you still feel that feeling? How do you manage that?
Something I just realized recently that is helpful for me is try to get more in myself, more into the spirit of challenges, like challenging myself or doing like competition, me against me. So, for example, being like, how quickly can I earn 10,000? How quickly can I earn 5,000 or 10,000, 15,000, whatever? Just like not put a time frame to it, but just have this thing of how quickly can I do it, which is brings much more the fun into it, and lets me kind of forget this thing of I need to pay my bills. Yeah, just bringing more the fun into creating money.
Yeah.
That's usually a helpful thing, that you forget about all this why you need money, and that there's bills to pay and all that, because that's usually very present for me otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. How quickly can I make X, Y, and Z? Really great question, because often when people come in to make an investment in themselves, either they are getting a mentor or a coach or signing up for a program or making an investment in some training, and they really, really want to do it, and then they hear the price point and they go, I can't afford this. And that question of how quickly can I make X amount, because what you're asking yourself underneath that is, how can I afford this? How can I make this possible? And then you go, okay, well, I need to go and generate, or like you said, create money. I need to go and generate it. I need to create it. I need to show it that I'm available for it. And then having a fun game, because as soon as we go, I can't afford this, it does feel like we're activating all those parts of ourselves that don't feel enough. I can't afford this, this kind of life isn't accessible for me, this kind of training isn't accessible for me, feeling annoyed at the program or the mentor for charging the amounts that they're charging, being like, how dare they, instead of saying, actually, they've worked to a point where they can ask for that level of investment and I get to be there too. How can I afford this is also asking, how can I create? And it's also asking, what part of me do I need to switch on that knows how to go and do it? Yeah.
Usually, I think usually you know how to do it. Maybe in the beginning it can be that you need some marketing strategy, sales strategy, some things that really just need to be there for a business to work out. But once you have the basics, you kind of know what you need to do, but it's very easy to still stand in your own way and be not very productive, or avoid the things that you actually should be doing.
Yeah. So what would you say are your three top client attraction strategies at the moment? Like, what's really working for you? Three things that if you could get a microphone and the whole world of women could hear you, and you know, money didn't matter. It doesn't matter about you making money or anything like that, but you somehow had this ability to just give them the three top ways of attracting their clients. What would you say are your gold star 3 tips?
I think the first one, which I'm basically repeating over and over and over again, is it needs to be clear what you offer. Who do you help with what and how? It needs to be clear, it needs to be tangible, it needs to be something solving a problem or helping people reach a goal that they want in their life, not something that you think is important for them.
Okay.
The basic offer has to be really clear.
Yeah.
And that is usually where most businesses in the beginning struggle to get that clarity. Many are out there selling their tools, or saying I offer one-on-one coaching, or I offer astro readings, or I offer this and that, and that's just all. It's just all tools. It's not really the problem or the goal of the client. So that's just the how, but what do you solve and for who? That's the first one. The second one, I would say really go. Is that the third one? No, the second one, I would say really go out there. Once you have an offer, actually present it, talk about it. If you hide it somewhere in your pockets, how are people supposed to know? Even if you're on Instagram or wherever, treat it as your little shop, as your little boutique. People come into there and they want to buy something, they want to hear what you have.
Yeah.
Ashamed about selling it and to feel ashamed about talking about what you offer.
Yeah.
Talk about it. And also show off that you know what you talk about, like especially when you do content marketing. Help people like in your content, make it structured for them, but like what steps can they go by themselves even? How can you help them to get little achievements already, or share also testimonials of it, or your own journey, just things where people can see that you actually know what you talk about. And then the third one, I would say also like it's a big piece of networking, going out and meeting people. Like content marketing is more attraction, but especially in the beginning of a business, it's just very important that you also just go out there and meet people and introduce yourself, even offline. Some people are just very focused on Instagram is the only channel I can sell. And there is a gazillion of options to get clients. And usually in the beginning, it's easier to go to local events, to meet people face to face.
Yeah.
And just really go to people. Even another useful thing is also Facebook groups. It's often in Facebook groups people really collect that have a specific interest, which is not so much the case on Instagram, where you don't really have the same structure. So use places like that where people gather and where you can go to them and introduce yourself or write comments. Go to people, don't wait for them to come to you.
Amazing. Yeah. So true. I think my favorite one was the third point actually. Go to people, yeah, not waiting for them to come to you. And what you're saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what it sounds like you're saying, or what I'm receiving from what you're saying, is that you've got to hold the identity of being that person that is the authority on that thing. Like you actually have to embody the identity of, I know what I'm talking about. I believe in my offer. I have a clear pathway to take people through, whether you're selling an item and a product or a service or whatever it is. If you don't believe in that identity, that part of you that can actually do this, you're going to have a hard time going out there and introducing yourself as a business coach or as someone that sells, I don't know, some sort of wellness product or whatever it is. When you believe and know yourself as that, that's when that third part of networking is going to become a lot easier. Yeah.
But I think a piece of it is also just like really going out there and saying it again and again, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Usually just introducing yourself that way all the time again, at some point it's also gets into your identity. Like,
Yeah.
work happens if you really look into your thoughts and look into your belief system and look into how you can change that. But the biggest piece is really just collecting new experiences and realizing you can say this and other people take you seriously because they don't really ask. Yeah, like many people are worried, is my education enough for this and that, or whatever. People usually don't even ask if they perceive you as knowing what you're doing, and if you can tell enough stories around it because you actually know what you do, then they don't care what your background is.
Yeah. Yeah, such wonderful points. What would you say in your business journey so far has been your absolute rock bottom, like the worst thing that's happened or that you've experienced, or the worst point in your business journey?
Probably like that first year, after like the third or fourth month, I still had savings in the beginning. And then I just had to get side jobs again. But until that money came in, I just really didn't have much. And I went into the supermarket and basically just had like $50 or something. And I was like, what can I buy with this now? That was probably, yeah, that was a pretty shit experience. But in the end, I don't know, you get over it. Like, it's just, I think it humbled me in many ways, and that was also very healthy. Like,
Yeah.
was kind of necessary in hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. I always would love to know what people's rock bottoms are, because especially when they start to make it and they start to see things improving, because those who are too afraid to even start, because they're afraid to start because they're envisioning that rock bottom, and they're like, what if that happens? And it's just that reminder that even you had that rock bottom, and now you're in Morocco, staying here for as long as you want to or need to, because you can. And just a few years ago, you couldn't even fully buy your grocery list because you didn't have enough money for that. Yeah.
Even like, of course, it's not something you want to experience. Of course, it's like something. And I'm not afraid of it anymore, I would say. It's just that I know I can handle it. But still, I don't want to be there again.
Yeah.
Maybe that cool. But yeah, if it happens, you will find ways. Like, I mean, often it just feels like you're gonna die if that happens. But like, think about it also rationally and logically. Your likelihood that it needs quite a bit until you actually die.
Yeah.
Actually, something is really happening to your life is not so huge. You will find ways out of it, even if it feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah, what I'm feeling from you is so much self-trust. Like you have like a very unique and very robust level of self-trust. Do you identify with that? And if you do, where do you think it comes from?
I think I was just very rebellious for a long time already, and knew what I wanted and where I want to go, and just did it. That was always a little piece of me. But for a while, it was more this. I still wanted to prove myself. And in there somehow, and I could be very, very cold sometimes, and very like more direction arrogant sometimes. There was more self-trust, yes, but sometimes more like putting myself above others.
Okay.
Like compensating that way. So not really grounded. Yeah, not really grounded, open, loving self-trust. And that's it was a big part also in that first year to like that's why I'm saying I needed this experience.
Yeah.
This way of getting humbled also and open my heart and to connect more with other people and to understand that it's not just about me and be able to create connections and to create a network and to relate to people. Otherwise this doesn't work out. You cannot like you're it's not possible to get to the top alone basically. Really, you need people around you.
Yeah.
You need to get money from people.
Yeah.
So that was a big part for me in the first year to really open my heart and get softer and be able to relate to others more deeply also.
Yeah. It's funny because what you're describing is that the business journey was also a journey to kind of accessing the parts of you that you'd not accessed before. The business journey and the difficulties that it came with was saying, well, I'm not going to unlock the next level of business until you unlock the next level of you.
Yeah.
And I love that it led you to opening your heart and finding that compassion and the ability to let people in. And I often say this when I do spiritual mentoring, is, people can have the ability to have such advanced and evolved consciousness. That doesn't mean they're a good, open-hearted person. There are plenty of gurus out there who are very powerful in terms of their consciousness and the level of awakening that they've accessed. They can literally like put their hand up and send energy through you and your body is shaking. But, they then later get exposed for abusing women and doing bad things or wrong things and not very heart-centered things. So just because someone is evolved in consciousness spiritually doesn't mean they're liberated in their humanity. And I love that for you. And for many people, the business journey is a pathway to liberation of like the actual human that's here. And if the spiritual journey and the business journey or whatever journey we're choosing doesn't involve us connecting more with other people, standing for collective liberation, and whatever that looks like, it might be on a small scale or a global scale, whatever it looks like to that person, what's the point? What's the point if we've got loads of money in our pocket but nobody in our world, and or we're watching other people suffering and we feel nothing? What is the point? And I love how you've given that as an example of, your business was kind of your teacher and saying you need to open your heart now. You need to let people in. Yeah.
I think I also saw it as that from pretty much the start when I went into when I invested into my first coaching. It was kind of a mix of inner work and business coaching because I was interested in that direction, and I always knew that it belongs together. It's not like you can try all the strategies and be perfect at them, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then when it doesn't, why? Usually it's you standing in your own way in some way.
Yeah. And what would you say is the kind of, and I know there's no definite answer to this, but a lot of it is strategy, and a lot of it is as you said, it's the person, it's their blocks, their individual kind of journey and awakening. How much would you say is assigned to each of these things, like actual skills and strategy versus it being an invitation to unleash more of your humanity and more of who you are?
I think usually there's the ratio that you usually hear is like 20% strategy and 80% is the rest.
Okay.
I kind of agree with that. Like you need this basis of clarity of what you offer to who, and like if people don't understand what is going on in your world, what they can get from you, then it's just gonna be hard. And no matter who you are being. But then the rest, it's really about how can you go out and connect to people? Can you talk to them? Can you introduce yourself and be like, this is what I'm doing? Can you guide them also for a process of not just waiting like for people to come to you, but if someone is interested, are you saying, cool, like can we have a call at some point next week, or do we just wait for them to take the step and step again instead of leading? These pieces of leadership, self-trust, that it's a practice, and if they're not there, it's always gonna feel hard somehow.
Yeah. For those people who say, okay, well, you mentioned that you had some savings at the start of your business journey, and if people are out there who are saying they too would love to start their business journey, whether it's creating art or whatever it is, right, selling a product or a service, but they don't have savings. Let's say they have debt. What would you advise on that? Would you say pay off your debt and start later? Would you say get started now and figure it out as you go along? Would you say it's better to start with savings? What would you say is the best strategy based on what you've seen and the clients you've worked with and your own journey too?
Quite individual, like what works out for you. Like really figure out what do you feel comfortable with, or maybe not really comfortable, but what is this edge where you can go and not feel like you're completely frozen. Because if you get yourself into a place where you're just frozen in fear, then that's not going to help. Stability first that can hold you, so that you can go forward with calmness and groundedness again. It's pretty individual. Sometimes I have clients that just really need to take this step also at some point to cut off the job because they're relying too much on it. So sometimes it's also really about getting rid of this comfort zone. but it's pretty an individual thing. What works out for the person. Mm, I'm not one of these coaches who say like full on you have to quit your job, you have to go all in. You can if it feels right for you, or if you feel this is your next step, even if it scares you. But sometimes it's just not your next step.
Yeah. Love that. So it's about your capacity, like your individual capacity and your nervous system and what your edge is. So we're not trying to stay in the comfort zone because we ain't nothing's going to grow there, as the saying goes. But what is the edge? So if someone had loads of debt, there could be two people in loads of debt. One of them, they can say, okay, I'm in debt. I can get my part-time job and I can work on my business and I'll pay off my debt as I go along. For others, they're in debt and they're so frozen and they can't function because of that being there. And so for them, it might be better to go get a full-time employment, sort out the debt, and then start on their business journey. So I love that individualistic kind of like, it's unique. Everybody's unique in terms of what they can hold.
Yeah, I think you can always start. Like, I mean, the starting doesn't mean you can have a full-time job and start your business next to it. Like, there's Saturday and Sunday. Like, of course, that's not like it's exhausting at some point, yes. But if you really want this, you start somewhere and use the time that you have, be efficient with it, and yeah, make the best out of it. I think don't just. I wouldn't say it's permission to just wait around, but it can be that you still need that full-time job.
Yes. Yeah, use the time you have. Plant those seeds. Plant those seeds whilst you nurture yourself and get yourself to the right place. Brilliant. Love that. Love that. What would you say is your peak? So we've said what your rock bottom was. In your business so far, what has been the kind of moment where you're like, I can't believe this is happening. I love this right now.
Probably last November, when just suddenly things were starting to work out much easier as well. Like before, it worked out, but it was still a lot of actual work going in. And then back in September, October, I started to allow myself more to work less and get higher paid. Also just charge different things, let people go that don't fit. And then in November, that was quite a cool month because I wasn't working too much. It was kind of cool, like lots of good clients, lots of good things coming in, like both new clients and a new website that someone wanted. That was just was cool. Also, just to get myself into this feeling of it's here. It's not just all the time like in the future somewhere. It's actually here. It's working out. It's I think that is an easy pitfall that people can fall into. That it works, but you don't see it. You see it, but you don't feel like it. You still feel like something needs to change or something needs to happen. Just really this place of letting that sink in, that you are there where you want to be.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. That is so true. I think so many people will be able to relate to that, not just in their businesses and in finance, but in every aspect where we're so trained and indoctrinated to chase the next thing and to wait for this feeling of relief and satisfaction that we don't allow ourselves to feel it. We don't recognize, like you said, it's there, but we don't see it. We don't see it. And just to actually take a step back, to take time out, to take that month off Instagram like you did, and to say, oh my gosh, this is the life that I actually wanted. Yeah. What would you say a typical week is for you now that you're more in the kind of the level that you maybe prayed about 3 years ago? Of course, there's going to be more levels, as we know. There's going to be more. Of course, we're human. We desire. we desire to evolve. We desire everything we create to evolve, and that's fine. But you're in a much better position than you were 3 years ago. So what does a typical week look like for you in terms of how much you're working and what you now have access to?
It's quite, I don't have like a fixed week structure. I have the calls that are fixed. But otherwise, I'm usually quite spontaneous, quite flexible. I work anywhere between like probably 2 to 4 hours a day usually. Sometimes it's 6, 8, but usually it's 2 to 4. Can happen that like I'm just like, okay, I want this and this to change on my website, and then I'm there the whole day. just, just like really how I feel like, basically.
Yeah.
To have lots of time for myself to regenerate, to have a healthy sleep, to eat healthy, to go out and enjoy the sun here, the sea, whatever. That's really just this work-life balance. I'm not sure if I like these words, but just this mix that I always dreamt of working, and then if I work then really efficiently, then I get stuff done. And then also being able to be offline after that and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my motivators really in the beginning, that I always felt like, okay, if I sit in an office, I could do things like twice as fast and be done with it and go home. But I can't because I'm paid by time.
Yes. That is so funny. I was having the same conversation with my sister. She's like, I finished my work already, but I have to just sit here and do more random stuff because somebody else is paying me, right? And yeah, when you can create something where you don't work for it, it works for you because you designed it, you put your energy and consciousness and love and compassion and heart into it, and when you love something, it's going to love you back. I love that. What would you say is something you now get to do that you were dreaming of? So some people love to, like, I don't know, go get facials and massages, or some people just like to have the freedom to wake up and go for a run and, like you said, eat nice food. What is it that you now get to do regularly that's become a staple in your life that you never got to do before?
It's certainly this flexibility of doing sports, having time for it, cooking. I love to cook. Having time to go to the market, select all the stuff that I want, then cook nice fresh food. That is certainly like just like this time flexibility. That is a piece, and also just being able to have like to take my laptop and go wherever I want. Like that's kind of, I have like this basis in Switzerland, and then basically at the beginning of this year, or end of last year already, I was 2 weeks here and I really enjoyed it. I went back for holidays for Christmas. I was like, no, I want to come back, so I came back. It's just this flexibility of just taking a laptop, and not like you don't have to worry about how are you going to earn money, what's going to happen with your work, whatever.
Yeah.
That is also just amazing feeling.
I love it, and it's everybody's dream. It's everybody's dreams, and well, I don't know why it wouldn't be somebody's dream to have that level of sovereignty and flexibility. What would you say is the most important part in taking that initial step? Like when someone really just wants to do it, what would you say is the best thing to clarify what they want to do?
Try and test and go out there. Like for me, a piece was just starting an Instagram account and talking about what I feel like talking about.
Okay.
Just allow your creativity to sort of express itself by doing something. And then if you have like a piece of an idea but it's not super specific yet, try to start to work with people somehow, or interview people about what, like do market research interviews of some sort. what could they be interested in, what are their problems,
Yeah.
where could you come in and help, get into these connections with other people. That can also be very helpful. It depends a bit on the person. Like, I'm really someone, I cannot just sit and have ideas. Like, that just doesn't work for me. I need to be in engagement. I need to interact with others, or even on Instagram, talk to others, see what they need, what content could I produce based on what are other people going through.
Yeah.
That is just, for me, was a big piece, to really engage with people, talk to people, and see where you can come in. If you feel like you don't have the ideas by yourself. Could also, do you know human design?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't dived in too deep, but anyone that I know that has dived deep into human design will testify to how helpful it has been to them in their lives. Do you feel the same? That it's quite useful for business?
I would say I'm sort of a bit in between. I didn't dive super hard into it, but I like to use it as a basis.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens if you dive fully, like, super hard, then you suddenly, everything is only human design.
Exactly.
But I find that difficult. But there is some keys that it can give you that can be helpful. Like, for
Yeah, okay, amazing. Yeah, you're so right about not just human design, but any kind of method. I think people swear by this one method, and eventually it becomes more about that than it's about your own growth and expansion, and you get blinded to those blind spots. You can't see them anymore because you're so dedicated to either breath work or human design or certain type of astrology, or some people are so hooked on psychedelics, they're like, this is what is giving me ascension. And it's like, you really can't see half of yourself here, because you are so reliant and don't believe yourself to be on that method. I think that's what happens. People get so hooked on it, but they don't believe themselves to be hooked on it. They think they're not, but you don't know your blind spots whilst you're in it. And so
search yourself another external structure that explains to you who you are, or yeah, helps you in some way. But I mean,
yeah,
to know yourself, what you want to do and where you want to go. Not
yeah,
astrology tell you what you need to do this week. Of course, it can be a helpful tool, or it can be like interesting to see what's going on. But in the end, you should be the one deciding what you want, and not, I don't know, stars or human design.
yeah, yeah. How do you manage your finances now? Like, now that you are starting to see a bit more come in, do you go, you know what, YOLO, I'm just going to enjoy what's coming and I'm just going to keep, doing what I'm doing? Do you recommend investing? Is there any kind of strategy that you have for yourself or that you recommend your clients when they start to see a bit more money coming in?
I think what easily can happen is that you go to YOLO and just spend it all, which happened to me in the beginning too. Try to have a mix. Like, of course, you kind of want to earn money to allow yourself things, and at the same time, it is advisable to have some savings. It is advisable to have something aside for taxes, for whatever comes in. Like, just really get yourself a plan of, usually you cannot spend your whole income. There is bills that need to be paid first, and there is things that need to be set aside for, like, taxation or whatever. So make sure that you have that and that you can set that aside, because otherwise you're just constantly in a spiral of, oh shit, this comes up now, I first need to pay this and whatever. Yeah, doesn't feel very comfortable.
Yeah. And I think, like, this kind of mirrors one of the things you said earlier about it being unique. I think so many of us have our own unique patternings around money and around having access to more, that even when we get more, we still act as if we didn't have anything. So for some people, it's as soon as they get more, they spend it all because they're so excited. Like, almost, it's the ability to attract money, but also the ability to hold money, to hold wealth, and for it to stick. I'd say my patterning is I'm very cautious and I'm very sensible. That's kind of my patterning. And if it's an investment, it's an investment in a program to up level my skills, etc. And I always find it fascinating when people are able to spend on luxuries and all of these things, because I'm like, wow, what a skill. And for them, it's so easy. It's so easy. And maybe saving and being sensible is harder. But we're all wired in so many different ways, depending on our childhood and what we had access to, and how we've had to navigate our paths. Where do you think in your childhood your money patterning has come from? Like, what was your childhood like around money and abundance/poverty?
I was rather overly cautious about spending. I mean, I came from like we always had money. Our family had money. Like that was never really the problem. But
Yeah.
um, especially my dad was very much focused on not spending too much on really if he gave some or if he gave to me like $5 and then he wanted the $5 back. It's just like this thing of there is not enough, even though there was more than enough. um, so that's kind of how I grew up, and then slowly, I trained myself to be more generous. Even long before coaching, because I just felt like this is kind of weird. I felt like I just want to invite people sometimes. Why not? Like, not expecting anything back or like, yeah. And then, like in the beginning of like self-employment or coming into the coaching industry, it was kind of a phase where everyone was like, "Well, you need to invest. You need to spend a lot of money. Only when you spend, it can come back."
Mm-hmm.
And then much the other direction, like really this direction of just overspending, not really being reasonable with it anymore. Was investing way too much into programs. Like most of them were good. I still benefit of it, but it was the wrong moment to invest so much. Kind of like I should have rather focused on certain things. It can easily happen that you then all the time feel like, okay, this is the next thing you still need, and this is the tool you still need to know. That's why it's not working out. You need to invest now, and then it's gonna work. But that doesn't bring you anywhere usually. Yeah. So by now it's kind of coming into a balance of investing when I see it's a good opportunity, but not just blowing it out there just because I feel like I'm not enough. Because that's I mean it's the same pattern again of feeling like I don't know enough yet. I first need to have this program in order to reach somewhere, which is it's never true. Of course, it can speed up the process, but yeah, usually you kind of know enough.
Yeah. I mean, you've spoken to several really interesting points there. The first one is constantly being in a program, constantly looking for the next tool that you think is going to move the needle, because what you've done so far isn't going to move the needle. But often we've not even implemented what we've learned so far, or digested it, integrated it, allow it to simmer and really become who we are, to be able to be an expression of that before we then see the results of that and then go, okay, now I see where the gap is, and I'm going to choose a program or a mentor that specifically addresses this missing gap. What a lot of people do is that program, everyone seems to be getting results here, there, and everywhere. Let me just get it all. So there is that piece. Not just in the business coaching and building a business space, but in all aspects of self-development and evolution of relationships and wealth and love and health and all of those things. And even our own spiritual ascension and unraveling our humanity, right? Of like, oh, there's this one more thing that's wrong with me. And I've had people talk about it as a hamster wheel of healing, where you just keep running, hamster, like just keep going, there's always more, right? And the other thing that you spoke to is what I would describe as the pendulum swing. So despite the fact that you came from a family that was okay financially, you were good, there was a pattern of hoarding money, of needing to hold on to it really tightly. And you don't know what your parents, your parents, their parents, and what patterns are there. Even if your own individual family had access, they've inherited these patterns that act as if they don't have access to wealth, right? So you're here and this pendulum swinging at this extreme of like, hold on to it, keep it, hold it, it might go away. To then, when you did have access to it, you swang the other way of like, oh, I'm just stand, right? And then the pendulum swings until it finds its balance, which you are coming into now of noticing that yeah, you can't just spend frivolously, as well as you can't hoard in a way that really feels like you're in survival mode all the time. And I
Yeah.
think it's true of any aspect of our development where
Yeah.
people may be very reserved until they learn something new, and then suddenly they're like, I'm going to completely let go, and they realize that none of those two extremes serve them. And they may spend a very short amount of time in those extremes, or they might spend a longer amount of time, but it really depends on us as individuals. And I think you spoke to that really wonderfully with that example.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I think, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Often when people are building a business, they have a deeper purpose in mind. So for me, I've always been very much into humanitarian work, and being of service. And when there's big things happening in the world, I talk about it, take it seriously, and it deeply affects me. I go abroad, I volunteer. So that's one thing that's laid, one of the first bricks underneath, the foundation of building a business. And the money that comes in, and the vision I see is, this is going to give me access to be able to do more of those things that matter in this world, that matter to me in this world. And also building a family and a really nice foundation. So people have different the why underneath. What do you think your foundation or real reason underneath? What's your why?
Mhm. I think it's also a mix of what you just said, kind of this family aspect, or just this aspect where I actually have time. That was a, or still is a big motivation for me to have this time and this freedom to decide myself. That was always something that's just kept driving me. And also like this aspect of bringing empowerment and responsibility to other people. Like usually empowerment goes along with taking more responsibility for where you're at and seeing that you are the one to change that. Um,
Yeah.
just when people start to see that they actually have possibilities, that they actually have options, and suddenly get ideas that they're like, ah, I never even thought of that. Like, what? No, that's just, I love these moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that radical self-responsibility. Um, it transforms everything. It's you're no longer a victim, if you like, even if it seems like it was the other person's fault, or the potential clients aren't coming, and I'm not popular enough, etc. All of those things that people might come up with. When we say, I am the only one responsible for the outcome of this relationship, this business, this my health, my wealth, etc. And empowerment comes from that, like you said. There is
It
no
would change, like it would change so much in this world if everyone would just act from that place of actually my responsibility. I don't need to complain about things. It's just if I don't want something, then I can change it. Might not be so easy, but still it works.
Yeah, I can change.
I feel there would be far less. It just brings much more serenity, and also just like this feeling, yeah, the power, kind of this feeling of power in you that makes you also kind of calm and happy and peaceful, and knowing that you can deal with things.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one thing I've noticed over the last few years is that you don't necessarily have to have access to a huge network of people to do well. You don't have to have 50 million Instagram followers or even 10,000 or whatever. I know people with very small followings, sometimes just less than 1,000 or, around that figure. And they're doing well. They're creating change. They're bringing outcomes to their clients. The clients keep coming back because they're getting good results. They're changing people's lives, or they're selling a business or a service or a product that is having an impact. And they're not having to, be the cool girl or the popular girl or guy on the latest social media network with thousands and thousands of followers. What would you say about that, about size of following versus business success?
Yeah, yes, it's as you say, it's completely unrelated. Like I myself have I think I have 850 at the moment. That I don't have a huge following, but even then, like still, if you imagine 850 people in a room, that's a lot. That sometimes we even forget that it's actually still a lot of people. um, it's usually completely unrelated. There's people who make millions with 2,000 followers. There's people who make nothing with 10,000. It's really like if you know how to earn a living with 800 followers, then you probably will do better with 10,000. That's kind of that's just, then it multiplies, of course. But if you don't know how to sell, if you don't know how to offer products, if you don't know how to generate this attraction of people coming to you and wanting to work with you, then it's not going to help anything to have 10,000 followers. It doesn't do anything.
Yes, amen to that. We're not about accumulating followers for the sake of it. No, it's because our systems of living, our patterns as humans, they kind of never change. You have that kind of pattern that plays out in school of like someone is popular and everyone is around them. But that doesn't mean those connections are true and real and authentic and loving, right? Whereas you may have two friends, and those are two solid friends that you know for the rest of your life. And I think it kind of is a great example to illustrate what you've just explained, that you could have 850 followers like you and have an income that allows you to live with freedom.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, on social media, I also think you don't really have to be, in a sense, popular at all. It's more about being you and attracting the same people, because there's millions of people on social media. So, like, even if you are, even if you generate a big following, it can still be that they really fit to you. Just all the unpopular people coming to unpopular people coming together. That's also completely fine. But be you. Don't feel like you have to try to fake something, because usually people can feel that.
Yes. So you would say a great strategy is just show up authentically.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Amazing. I would love to bring this kind of round things up. So I'm going to end with just a couple of few questions, and then we can say goodbye. It's been amazing talking to you. What would you, if you had one message to the world of women, just one message, what would you say? It's a big question, actually. Answer.
To women especially, I would just say trust yourself and go out and do things. Don't just think about things in your head all the time, make plans forever. Do something, make steps in some way, put yourself out there. It's gonna be okay. You're not, usually people are so afraid of getting hate or of falling on their face or whatever. It's okay, it's okay to fail. Then you just get up again and try again.
Yeah. And if you could send one message to yourself at the early stages of business to have accelerated this journey, you could go back in the past and you could say, hey, I'm here from the future. Do this now. What would be that thing that you said, do this now? What would be the
That's an easy one. Relax. Just really relax. That's still what I'm telling myself all the time again. Just really relax. Don't don't force it so hard. Like that's just I'm rather usually doing too much. That's been my pattern usually. So for me, it's really the point of relaxing, being able to trust more, being able to go with the flow more, and not wanting to force it so much.
Yeah. Okay. And let's say you've lived 100 years, you've done your life here, you've got, you've done a full life, and it's your last day on this earth, and you're ready because you know you've done everything you want to do. Um, and you're just having some thoughts as you drift off, as you drift away, of the three best things that you experienced in your life. So right now, as you are today, you may not have had those things happen to you yet. On that very last day of your life, what are the three best things that you're going to say, like, I'm this was the biggest, loveliest, amazingest things that happened? Three.
Mm. I think the first one that comes up is just really having traveled and experienced the world, and not just like in a sense of getting stamps into my passport, but actually I love slow travel, just to really experience a place or to even go on a track or something, just where you can immerse in the surroundings, instead of hopping from place to place. Just yeah, this feeling of having experienced different places in the world and what people are about. Mm, I think the second one that comes up is just family, like having had family and friends around, um, having them seen laugh and grow and go on their own journeys. Mm, and the third one, probably having been like a motivational speaker on stages like that. That is something that is like a dream coming up.
Yeah, amazing. In-person events and being on stage and big audiences.
It's like it's something that absolutely freaks me out. Like when I'm back in school, I absolutely hated to present anything. I was also not good at it, like not at all. And since I'm much more speaking also on Instagram into stories or do interviews or whatever, I get more and more used to it, and I can feel that this is something that will come up. It freaks me out, but it's probably gonna be part.
Yeah. Well, that desire is activating the part of you that it takes to be able to do it. Just like you've done so far, you're always evolving. Love that. Amazing. And so if somebody was here listening to this and thought, wow, Beccy sounds awesome, I would love to work with her. I wonder what she has on offer. Do you have any offers? What have you got in your menu of
There's at the moment two options, kind of. There's the one-on-one containers that are open, which can like is usually on a monthly basis, so it's kind of pretty free on what exactly you need and where you're at. And then there's a mastermind coming up, like a group coaching program in April, and that's going to be really for business starters, from creating a clear offer in the first month, then going out and looking into bringing that out in the sense of web design or a sales page, and in the sense of starting to build a community or just learning how that works. And depends. Some people already have one, but learning how to market yourself basically. And then in the third month, it's all around networking, going out there, sales. How can you lead people from I don't know you to okay, sounds amazing. I need this. Here's the money. Can we go? So that's going to be from April, May, June. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I will put your Instagram tag on here, so if anyone wants to come and find you, they can. Thank you so much. Does that feel complete? Is there anything that you really have been itching to share or want to say? Do you feel good?
No, it feels complete. It was so much fun. It's always like going into interviews, you never quite know like, yeah, what's gonna happen, what to expect. But it was just so much fun. Really good questions also. I
Yay.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for coming on. And if anyone wants to connect with Beccy, you know where to find her. Bye.